Good afternoon. My name is Willow Andreasson. Over the past few weeks I've been reading out chapters from my book, A Journey into the Mysteries of Life, Lessons from the World Beyond, and it's book one, The End of the Beginning. The chapter I read in my first video was the first section, or first few paragraphs of chapter 9 of the book, which is called Ask Her to Let Me Go. And I had been relating some of the experiences that I had been experiencing at the church, some of my own adventures there as well, and I had just reached the third reading, the most notable one, which is probably the most mind-blowing, or one of the most mind-blowing experiences I've had in my life to date. There have been several since the book's been written, but this is a really notable one. It's also very important for people to note as well, because things aren't always what they seem. The third and most mind-blowing reading wasn't undertaken by me. Not only did the readers learn how to read, but we would also become willing sitters for newer members of the Open Circle. I remember that this reading took place during the early days of September 2005. The evening was filled with fun and laughter. The mothers of the group were relaxed after a long summer school holiday. It was the main reason I'd not been able to attend for a few weeks prior to that evening. The energy within the church hall was crackling with vibrancy. You may remember that I mentioned an event involving my grandmother during the first chapter of this book. We have arrived at that very moment. We were all grouped into pairs. I volunteered to be the sitter for the evening. I did not know the woman who was to be the reader for the next half hour. Although she was an experienced medium, this was the first evening we had met. We were total strangers. We did not know each other's names. We knew nothing of each other's histories, other than we were practicing mediums. Serendipity must have been smiling down on us, because the reading became a first for the Open Circle, and one that the reader and me were never likely to forget. It quickly became apparent that my reader had already established links with someone from beyond the veil. The reader was a quietly spoken and friendly woman, very English in fact. Her eyes closed tightly, her demeanour gradually altering. It was evident to me that the personality establishing links with her was such a powerful one that he or she was trying to use the medium as a channel. I had confidence that the reader would resist this, and she did so. I already suspected that she had a relative of mine with her, but I had absolutely no idea who it was. When I realized who the sitter was communicating with, I quickly realized my perception and understanding of the afterlife, and life altogether, required a hefty medicinal dose of revisionism. The reader's hand reached up to the base of her throat, fingering an invisible necklace. Her voice changed slightly as she accustomed herself to the strength of the character she had met. She's asking if you remember the holiday where she forgot the Hail Mary. She wants you to know that she's remembered it now. The reader glanced over at me as my face began to pale. She's telling me that she loves you very much. She understands why you can't see her so much. I don't know if the reader paid much attention to my face at that point, but I'm pretty sure that my bottom jaw must have been resting on the carpet. The reader began to describe details of my relation's faith, her nationality, and other matters that only the relative and I knew about. I'm here for 85% of the time now. I stared at the reader as she allayed a fear I had long carried with me. Tears were stinging my eyes. I'm with your grandfather and your sister. Can you please tell your mum to let me go? The reading was over within 10 minutes. But those minutes changed my understanding of reality forever. The implications of the reading finally began to sink in. The group guide wandered over to us, wanting to check progress. I advised both the sitter and the guide that I had just spoken to my grandmother. They were thrilled with the communication. There's a problem, I whimpered. The two women settled anxious gazes upon me, imploring me to elaborate. My grandmother is alive. I explained the situation as it stood at that time. Nana was still very much alive, but she was in the final advanced phase of Alzheimer's disease. By that stage, Nana was in a long-term rehabilitation unit for the elderly in our local community hospital. She could no longer remember any of us. She was completely bedbound, incontinent, requiring 24/7 care. I wondered aloud if the spirit of a living soul trapped within a dying body communicating through a medium was a common occurrence. The group guide explained that although the phenomenon was quite unusual, rare even, she had heard of isolated incidents such as Nana's communication before. Nana had a very clear message to impart, finally found someone able to voice that message on her behalf. She assuaged my fears that she was trapped in her body. She wasn't, and also made her demands known. A more common paranormal phenomena involving non-verbal communication between two parties exists. A friend or family member who is facing their final moments of life, or who has just passed away, may appear as a vision to a chosen friend or relative. This phenomenon is known as a crisis apparition. Verbal communication seldom takes place during the apparition, and it is commonplace for the said relative or friend to hear of the passing of the envisioned person within hours or days of seeing them. It is also quite common for the vision to have appeared just before, or at the moment of, death. Crisis apparitions are not just restricted to final goodbyes, however. Lonely friends can be comforted by the vision of a friend on the other side of the world just by thinking about that friend, as happened between a dear friend and me a few years ago. Mothers will see visions of their child standing before them shortly before they receive a call from the child requesting help. Sometimes, the crisis apparition description can be a total misnomer. Sometimes, the projector just wants to get back in touch with the witness again. I couldn't think of a better prompt, to be honest. Whilst Nana's communication with me had raised paradigm-shifting questions, she had, as I have stated, allayed my worst fear. We were all scared that Nana was trapped within the haze of lost memories. How grateful I was that, for the most part, she was safely back with grandfather. My sister's passing almost destroyed Nana, so to know that she had been reunited with her just filled me with joy. Indeed, I could picture the sheer beauty of their reunion in my mind, could see how relieved and delighted they were to be with each other again. I will admit to shedding a few tears when I got home that night. Not only with the pure overwhelming feelings of relief that Nana wasn't trapped in her malfunctioning human vessel, though. I was also wondering how I was going to convey Nana's message to Mum, her only daughter, without causing a great deal of hurt or offence.